Hi, my name is Daniela. On this video, I'll be talking about types of pretrial releases. Basically, pretrial releases. It refers to the different options defendants have to be released depending on the level that they are put at by the judge, whether they are low flight risk or high flight risk, if they have ties to the community or people that can, help them flee the country, depending on cases like that. Also, depending on how bad the crime is, that is another thing that is taken in consideration when considering the inmates to or the defendant, the defendant to be placed on pretrial release. Different trial releases are releases as releasing them on their own recognizance. Basically, with that, that's basically most of the time offered to defendants that is a low risk, don't really have a criminal record, or the crime is, not detrimental or so bad. They do give that to them, give that to the defendant with a promise to return to court on their court date. Typically, if they do not come back to court, which for every defendant, they are summoned, and they are also ended up, revoking the ROR, and then a warrant is put out for their arrest for a bench warrant for not showing up to court. And then typically the next time there's a possibility where they won't get an ROR, depending on the states. Now, all of these pretrial releases that I am talking about, it also, during my research, it also depends on the state where the defendant is in, because different states have their different laws for their pretrial releases. Another pretrial release is cash bail or surety bond. With that one, most of the time that's for inmates who cannot get an ROR because they have a record, or they are known for doing the same crime that they have did, as to the reason as why they're incarcerated now. That typically they need a bail bonds to bond out, or they can pay cash. If they go through a bail bond, it's like a surety bond, is where some states they either pay 10%, or they pay a certain amount. Some require them to pay it all. And the bail bondsman will get them out. Now, if they do jump bail and don't go to court, then of course they forfeit the bond. Some of these defendants, they have family members that may put up collateral, put up their house or put up their car or something like that, and the bail bondsman will hold on to those documents or that information with whatever they put up for collateral. And potentially, if they don't show up to court, a family member could lose their home or lose their car, because that's what was put up for collateral for them to be able to be released. And again, they are required to show up to court as well. The same thing, all of these, they are required to show up to court. If they don't show up to court, everything is revoked. Typically, they don't get that type of pretrial release again, because they didn't comply with the pretrial release that they were on the first time. So it makes it kind of harder for the judge to have faith in them, or believe that if they do get ROR or a cash bond again, or conditional release, or third party custody, or supervised release, that they will not mess it up, and they will not have to revoke it. So continuing, sorry, the next one is a conditional release. With the conditional release, there are different things in with the conditional release. It may include like having having an ankle monitor, or having them have to check in, or they have like now I won't say a probation officer, but they have someone, they get put on curfew, and they have someone that goes out to their house to make sure, if their curfew is at 8 o'clock, that they're in the house by 8 o'clock p.m., or if their curfew is 5 o'clock p.m., that they're in the house or at the address that they provide the court with at 5 p.m. With conditional offers, that one is for defendants that, are known or actually have a record, whereas it may be for the same crime or for different crime. They just have a record, and they just stay in trouble, stay committing crimes, and they pose a risk but don't need to be in jail. They could be out, but they just have to be watched. And then you have what's the other one, a supervised release, where again they, most of the time, well, not most of the time, sometimes with a supervised release they are put, they can be put in a program to where they're supervised, and someone is watching after them, making sure that they're back into the house when they're supposed to be. And with the supervised release, sometimes it be halfway houses. They're released into a halfway house. They have to check in, check out. Some halfway houses are known to, have them, with a phone that has a GPS monitor on it, and they have to make sure that they're at the location that they're supposed to go to when leaving the halfway house. They're basically supervising that defendant every move until it's time for them to go to court. Now, those defendants that have to go to a halfway house, they are definitely a flight risk. So anything that the courts can do and the prosecutors can do to minimize that defendant fleeing the country or fleeing the state, that'll make it hard for them to get the defendant back into custody, to come to court when it's time for them to be released. They resort to things like that, which is putting them sometimes in the halfway house so that they know exactly where they are. Other things is they can release them to an address that the defendant give, but again, they have to be at the address at all times where they're supposed to be, because they also have officers that go out and do checks to make sure that defendant is where they're supposed to be as well. And they're also placed on a monitor with supervised visits upon supervised release. Upon research that I did, in some cases they can be, if they give an address to like their mother house or something like that, they can be supervised. The officers come out there to make sure that the defendant is there. In some cases, they also place them on an anchor monitor. If this defendant is working, they have to provide their work address and things like that. So they put a lot of things in place. So with these supervised releases, the defendant really is watched at all times. So that's the main thing with supervised release, making sure that the inmate is watched at all times. It's like being on probation. That's basically what it is. They're put on probation. They have to check in. Sometimes, with the pretrial release, they come with stipulations as well, especially with supervised release, because it's like being on probation. Sometimes if it's drugs related, they have to stay away from drugs, or if it's a crime that has multiple people, they have to stay away from the other people. And sometimes they have to do drug tests or alcohol tests just to make sure that they're in compliance. So different type of there's different type of pretrial releases as such that I discussed today in this video. Just depending on the judge and the prosecutors and a lot of things that's going on in the case, it weighs out which release will be given to the defendant, and which best fits them. They also take in consideration, the custody of the defendant and their background, their history, their record. All of that is taken in consideration, how the defendant presents themselves. So just depending on all of those things, the judge basically make his or her decision off of that. Prosecutor and the defendants, they also, agree upon something that works out for everyone. Sometimes it may not work out for the defendant, but because of their record or their background in the case or in the crime, the judge at the end of the day is going to do what's fits. And also sometimes the defendant can't be released. They are remanded to jail, and that's where they stay until the next court date if their record or their background is so bad, or the crime, it could just be one crime, their first time crime is so bad that the judge don't see that they can be released or that they should be released because they are too much of a risk or too much to a harm to the community. All right. Thanks you guys for watching this video. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye for now.